is the item that would exempt the Center of Community Life from pursuing LEED building certification, and in part because the projects had to be scaled back so much, this would incur extra costs that isn't, I guess, financeable what it boils down to finance that cost for LEED certification. So my question is whether we can still build the energy efficiencies without getting the proper LEED blessing so that at least it's functioning. The staff report only commented on pursuing Title 24 energy standards, but I'm not sure, I don't think those are as stringent as LEED certification. So, and I think they're more limited in scope. So my question is, can we do some of these enough to be certified without going through the expense of certification?
Well, what the staff report said was that when we meet Title 24, we will have the equivalent in place of LEED silver.
Mayor, could we hear from Roy?
Mr. Miller, could you come up maybe
specifically address the energy problem
and kind of give us some idea of what we're giving up if we say yes to this? I meant from design criteria, or what's the difference?
So I think what we've talked about for years at city schools is putting the money into the building rather than putting money into the certification process that LEED requires. So if you want to put a plaque up on your building that says you're LEED silver or LEED gold, there are sometimes many hundreds of thousands of dollars that actually go into that certification process. So I think this is not inconsistent with conversations that we've had for years about putting the money into the project. And then the other part is we've also talked, we've never actually said until the issue of the city ordinance came up, we've never actually said we will meet a particular LEED level. What we've said is that we would get as high up the LEED rating ladder as the project funds would carry us. So you're talking about all the right things. I mean, the energy criteria are important, but LEED is a much broader set of criteria than just energy performance. We will still, the project still, as it's currently designed and approved in schematic design, the project still exceeds Title 24. So relative to LEED, we're roughly equivalent to LEED silver. To push the project all the way to the level of LEED gold would require, even just in terms of energy performance, would require lots of additional dollars to the tune of millions of dollars. Where the project sits right now, to spend those large dollar amounts on the attributes of a LEED gold project would require scaling something else back. Either the square footage of the project, the quality and or aesthetic appearance of the project, dollars per square foot. In other words, something would have to be reallocated in order to push more project dollars into energy performance.
Yes, Jack.
Are you going to be looking into Prop 39 money for energy efficiency? I've been reading a lot about that lately for schools.
The challenge for us with Prop 39 is it's too late.
Oh.
The Prop 39 funds won't be available until at the earliest 2014. So we have to make decisions right now about where we're headed with this project. So it's not impossible that we could figure out how to work something out in the future, but it would have to be something that was kind of added on to a project that's already approved and under construction.
Well, also, I think Prop 39 was for the older schools that have real serious energy issues.
We have talked about the possibility of Prop 39 there, and so the issue of its timing is one factor. Mm-hmm. It's also a set of funds, like most grant funds, where you have to supplement a project, not supplant. So we couldn't, for instance, go get Prop 39 funds and somehow backfill commitments that we've already made with our own project monies. So I'm not saying it can't happen. The frame I'm trying to draw here is that it would have to be something that we look at for an addition to the ECCL project, but we have to make decisions right now about the project and its design.
One more question. Some solar providers now are entering into lease arrangements to kind of lease space on rooftops or something.
Yes.
So I know that LEED gives lots and lots of points when you start to generate electricity on site, and maybe even if not give back to the grid, at least drain it far less because of on-site generation.
We're doing a study of that right now.
Okay.
We may still be able to do that for the
Okay.
exact reasons that you're outlining.
Okay, so I guess that's a wish that I'm articulating now, and because I know that would boost the performance of what ultimately gets built there.
City schools will see that study as soon as it's done, and if it turns out that we have the ability to enter an agreement to do something like that, city schools will definitely weigh in on whether you want to or not.
Jennifer, did you have a question?
Yeah, I do. And first I want to thank both staff and Roy for answering my questions before the meeting, but I feel like it's good for the public process to share the information that I received through that too. So one of my questions was about, this project has been put into two phases, phase 1 and phase 2. And, when you say we would have to scale something else back in order to meet the city's requirements in terms of LEED ratings, to me, it's somewhat of a false choice because if this is incorporated and is a requirement as it currently is under the city, then of course something has to give, but it's not necessarily this that has to give. There may be something else. And I know, it's been hard as the amount of funding has been reduced to make things work. But maybe you want to give your answer, or I could share what you shared about phase 1 versus phase 2. And my question was, isn't there something else that could be put off until further funding was available instead of this, which is going to be for the life of the project and has to be built into the design, as I understand it, and includes operating efficiencies and cost savings over the life of the project instead of a construction piece that could be done perhaps later?
So one clarification that I'd like to make is, and I didn't say this in the previous emails to you and to Pat O'Keefe, a LEED Gold or higher, a LEED Platinum project is not necessarily less expensive to operate. In fact, it can be quite a bit more to operate from a kind of staff and technical knowledge perspective, because the higher up that ladder you climb, the more sophisticated those systems get that are actually running the building. So when you talk, it may save energy, but it may also spend dollars in terms of staff time and sophistication in keeping those systems up and running. But the question about phase 1, phase 2, I'm still accepting as a given parameter the overall project dollars, even though they aren't available currently. We still, years ago in city schools, set those overall project parameters. And those overall project parameters, what it means to me is there's no additional money in phase 2 either. There's a planned phase 1, and it has a budget associated with it that we've now managed to pull the dollars together to do. There's also a planned phase 2 that was part of what was approved as the second phase in the schematic design that expands the area on that site. That also has a budget associated with it, and that meets the criterion set for the overall project. Those dollars are tight as well. It's the same struggle as with phase 1. They're really, so I think you've hit all three of the options here, just on a conceptual level. You can either change the square footage that you're building. These math equations are pretty simple. They don't have a whole lot of variables. The amount of square footage that you're building times the dollars per square foot equals your project budget. And you can either change the square footage. In our case, at this point, changing the square footage means changing what programs can be delivered. Because we have very carefully sculpted over the years, time and time and time again, we've looked for every way possible to share square footage to make a highly utilized set of facilities. So at this point, cutting square footage means cutting program options and delivery. The other piece is cutting dollars per square foot. And cutting dollars per square foot does one of two things. It either reduces the quality of the project, which means short, medium, and long-term maintenance and durability issues, or it changes the aesthetic outcome, or both. And there's already concern being expressed by the Planning Commission and others that we may be struggling against that kind of are we pretty enough threshold. You know, does this project look good enough to be what we're after? So on both of those fronts, I don't think we have a whole lot of wiggle room here. We can't make significant adjustments to the cost per square foot. And then the third tactic that you've mentioned is delay something, put it off till later. In addition to the ideas of, you know, there are all sorts of things that you could talk about with that. Later is probably more expensive because I think everyone would agree that prices are not going to go down from here in the economy and in construction in particular. So the farther you push something into the future, the more you're going to pay for it. But I think the more important factor here is part of the obligation to city schools as we were looking at pulling the budgets for the project down to achievable levels. One of the promises of the project was you'll still get the same program delivery from right from phase one. So in other words, we won't lose the vision. The ECCL will still happen. It'll still happen in a full way right from phase one. So we're not going to wait 10 years and gamble that maybe we'll be able to accomplish the vision. And at this point, I think both from the community services perspective and from the school district's perspective, to cut a significant piece of the project out, meaning push it to later, would mean that that vision is unrealizable. We would not have the ECCL as it's been thought of for all these years, starting in phase one, if we pushed a significant piece of it to the future. Not even to get into the discussion about and how would we actually pay for it in the future.
Okay. Nora?
Yeah. Mayor, we have a dilemma. This is ECCL is a very complex project, and we know that we have to do a lot of give and take on this project. I think this is a reasonable solution. I clearly believe, Roy, that you and the design team understand that both the city council and the school board place a high value on energy systems and energy savings. We expect to see that, not necessarily associated with the lead, but you know what the will of the council and the board is. So I would move this resolution. I think we must.
We've
I
already
beg
had
your
a public
pardon?
comment. We've had a public comment. Wait, whoa.
Member hasn't
We're talking up here, okay? Just, yes, Nora.
I would move this resolution.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second it, but I also have more discussion.
Okay.
Okay, so where's Roy? He can come back. I've said it before, we've had conversations about this before, but can we do another letter, maybe on city letterhead, this is a request, to the flood control district to open up that culvert and so we can stick a water wheel in there, because there's water that flows that could be converted to energy even in the driest summer months. And that's been, I mean, we had an opportunity to have a live science experiment on site because of Temescal Creek there. And I would like not to give up on that. So has there been letters? Can we do another letter to try to stick a water wheel in there?
So we have had those discussions. Just so you know, those discussions have occurred with the flood control folks. They're not anxious to try to do that, to say the least. So a letter couldn't hurt.
I'd like to request that something signed by the mayor go out asking for them to at least consider us putting a water wheel in there, something that'll turn and generate.
My only comment is, you're right, the construction costs are going up. It still meets Title 24. It still will be.
We will exceed Title 24
it's going to
by
be
a significant
It's going to be
percentage.
substantially more efficient, easier to run than what we have right now. And I would support that too, so we have 3-2. Now, do you have public comment? I will, Kent? Oh, yes.
Sorry, one
I'm
more
sorry.
thing. For me to come across this in the packet feels like another compromise around this project that's supposed to be emblematic of the city's cooperation with the school district and is really supposed to serve as kind of the heartbeat of the city. And I continue to be worried that the project has been so value engineered to this point that we're not going to have the kind of facility and the kind of we're not going to fulfill the vision that we set out for ourselves. For me, I also think that we have this dream of efficiency, and that what we find out again and again is that efficiency costs money, right? And that I really worry about whether or not we have the money to complete this project. So I understand that the funding is not what we thought it would be originally, but I just feel like this is a project that keeps getting chipped away at again and again and again. And that's my comment.
I think we all feel like that. Anytime you get involved in construction, that's something that always seems to happen with the money. Okay, I was going to open up comment. We have Ken, and then I'm going to close comment after Ken.
You can't.
Yeah, I don't think you should remove this requirement. I mean, first of all, if it's already the law, then this project should have been designed around this requirement. You don't wait till the last minute and say, gee, now you got to change the design. This was already in place. So why wasn't it designed to lead? Why do we got to find that out right now? And I can tell you from the Waste Management Board, I was responsible to make sure that that building was LEED certified. They wanted to save money too, but then they ended up doing it the right way. And there's tours that go to that building every day, showing it as an example. This is a school. It should set the example for the future. There's no reason why it shouldn't be LEED. I mean, if you're going to educate kids, you're going to do it the right way. And not having a facility that meets these standards is not doing it the right way. We added $2 million to the police station to make sure that that was LEED certified. So why wouldn't you do it for the school? I mean, you have more capital dollars than you do operating dollars, and now's the time to use them. Thank you.
Yes, Brian.
Well, I share what Councilwoman Asher said regarding the chipping away at this project. So now we're finding out that the Center for Community Life won't meet the city's minimum requirements vis-a-vis the LEED, the energy efficiency. But one thing which needs to be said here is that we got to realize decisions have been made to get us to this point, and priorities have been set. Like, for instance, of the Measure J money that the citizens voted for and that school bonds have been sold, the taxpayers are paying for, over $5 million now have been spent before we've broken ground on so-called community engagement, which is demonstrably phony, and I mean, largely phony, I should say, not completely, and a lot of, just on millions of dollars on consultants. So we have to realize that the priorities have been made, and this has not been a priority. So I mean, there's no other real way to spin this. If we're not going to have this be an energy efficient building as it's supposed to be, it's not just some unfortunate thing that happened. Instead, decisions were made by everybody involved to have this happen. So it's not just some happenstance thing. It's priorities were set, and this was not considered a priority, and we should not spin it in any other way other than that.
Okay. Yes, Andre. This is about this one item, Andre?
Same.
Same item, okay.
My concern is that it looks like so much money has already been spent just to make plans and paperwork and talk again and meeting and all that. So is it possible we already have a tally of everything that has been spent from day one to the study of the school here? I mean, are we going to walk around and still talk about it? I mean, here it's like a totem where the Indians run around and dance, you know. I mean, are we going to get down to the job, or are we still going to argue about the efficiency? You see, I mean, thank you.
Thank you, Andre. Okay, I think we had a...
Call the question.
Call the question.
I wanted to know if there was support by 2 other people to write to the flood control district.
If they pay for it, I would go along with it.
We just could ask for them to open it up, so I'm just asking.
I support writing a letter. I don't know more about it. This is the first I've heard of the water wheel tonight, so I'd love to hear more about it.
Okay.
So there's, to both of you support the letter?
Sure.
Yeah,
The letter,
yeah, the-
I have one final question that maybe Roy could answer. Roy explained to me that for the silver level rating, there's a certain point system of 50 to 59 points that would mean silver, and that gold, you have to get to the 60 points up to 79. And you mentioned Title 24, which I'm not very familiar with, but I assume it's a certain efficiency, energy efficiency that is required for, is it for school?
Yes.
California public buildings?
California's construction, period.
Okay. And I think what you told me was that the Title 24 is similar to silver in rating in terms of the items that are included.
Yes, similar to the in LEED Silver, there are energy criteria, but there are also lots of other criteria. So
such as water
Title
efficiency.
24 is probably not quite at, but roughly equivalent to the energy portion of LEED Silver.
I see. And it's the other items, such as materials and resources, indoor environmental quality, that we may be below the LEED Silver
Correct.
rating.
The last count, I believe that if you, on the LEED rating sheet, we're probably at about 40 points rather than 50 for LEED Silver.
So we might not achieve LEED Silver, but we will exceed Title 24.
In all aspects.
In all aspects.
Correct.
But on the energy portion is
yes,
what you were
very
comparing
close,
it to.
because
Title 24.
we're not just meeting Title 24, we're exceeding Title 24.
I see. Okay. Thank you for answering
Okay.
the question.
Karen, would you call the question?
Hold on a second.
What?
You wanted to take a roll call?
Yes, roll call.
Councilmember Atkin,
A reluctant aye.
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember West,
I'm going to vote no on allowing the waiver for that.
Councilmember Vice Mayor Asher,
No.
and Mayor Brinkman.
Aye. Okay, moving on to 5.